This message is brought to you by the Capital One Venture X card. Venture X offers the premium benefits you expect, like a $300 annual Capital One travel credit for less than you expect. Elevate your earn with unlimited double miles on every purchase, bringing you one step closer to your next dream destination. Plus, enjoy access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. The Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Hey there, fictional friends, and welcome to another episode of Fully Booked. I'm Meaghan.
And I'm Shirin.
And we've got a new TV release this week. That's exciting. I feel like we haven't done a TV release since what we did. Well, we did season 4 of Bridgerton. Yeah. And I guess that would have been the most recent one.
I think so. Now I'm thinking. Yeah, the rest of them were movies. Yep.
Yeah, nice. Okay, sweet. So so we've got a new one of these, which is good and fun and ties in perfectly to our episode that we actually recorded last week, which was part of the reason, to be fair, that we did talk about everything that we talked about last week.
Mention this. So.
Correct. Yes, true. So this week we're going to be talking about, we're going to do a part 1, part 2 for this, but we're going to be talking about the first half of Margo's Got Money Troubles, which premiered on Apple TV on April 15th. They dropped the first 3 episodes. I think it was all at the same time. And then we got episode 4 just at the time that we're recording this a couple of days ago on April 22nd. So it's quite recent. It's new. It is, for those who are unaware, the show is based on the 2024 novel of the same name by an author named Rufi Thorpe. And basic premise is that it follows I think in the show she is as well the same age, but in the book, at the very least, she's 19 years old, a young girl named Margo Millet, who gets pregnant. I'm not going to get into spoilers right away, but who, this is all trailer stuff, so you can see it pretty easily, gets pregnant, is struggling financially, obviously, to make ends meet with a young baby, and through learning about how the system works, basically falls into opening and starting an OnlyFans account to be able to make ends meet and to make money to support herself and her child, essentially. Yep. There's a lot more to it than that, obviously, as we've seen in Shirin. Now you've watched the first 4 episodes, I'm sure, as you've seen as well. I listened to the audiobook right at the beginning of this month because I'm really trying to do what we said we were going to do, which is at least have one of us.
You, my friend, on this one.
You've done it with a couple of them too. Like we've tried to get through, like, so that at the very least one of us has read the book. Or in some capacity, so we're like well aware of kind of what the story is and stuff. Sometimes we're going to miss out on it. It is what it is. It's fine. We're going to try to keep up with stuff. Don't worry. And we've got some other releases coming out next month too. It completely had not occurred to me until the full trailer dropped this week, but the Off Campus series drops on Amazon Prime on, I think, the 13th of May. Which is like a huge one that everybody's going to be all over. I'm sure that's a big release, which is based on the Elle Kennedy series. It's college hockey romance stuff for people who are like not aware. I've read that entire series already, so we are good to go, my friend. So, and I think they're dropping all 8 episodes at the same time. Thank God. Great. So we can do a full watch through and we can do a full recap of the series, which will be very nice to do.
What date is that?
I think it's May 13th is what I've seen so far. So, we're going to be able to do that in the middle of the month. Next week, we're going to have Devil Wears Prada 2. That's exciting.
That's right.
I think everyone's looking forward to that. That'll be fun. Yeah. So we've got a lot of good stuff coming, but I was really happy to have taken the time to actually listen to the audiobook for this before the series started, because now I feel like I'm really in the headspace of it. Fun fact, Elle Fanning, who plays Margo in the TV series, narrates the audiobook. So I was like fully prepared for her playing this character before the show even started. I was like, yep, that's Margo, because she sounds exactly like her in my head.
Big year for Elle Fanning in movie adaptations, eh? She's also in Sunrise on the Reaping.
Oh gosh, that's right.
Yeah. She plays Ellie Trinket, the younger version.
Yeah, and she's a really popular character as well. So
she is. She was played by what's her face in the original Hunger Games.
What is it? Elizabeth Banks, I think.
That's right.
Yep. Who plays her? Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, yeah. So it's a big year for her. Good for her. That's awesome.
It is.
So she stars as our lead character. I will give just brief just brief overview of cast before we kind of get into like the meat of everything and the spoiler side of everything. Co-starring in the show are Michelle Pfeiffer, who plays Margot's mom, Cheyenne. Also, fun fact, the series was created by David E. Kelley, who is Michelle Pfeiffer's husband.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
All
and
right.
huge TV producer, creator. He's been around for ages. And I think he's one of those names that I think pops up on, I don't even know how many, like really like that's it created Doogie Howser, but like in the 90s. My God, that's a fun one. Picket Fences, Chicago Hope, The Practice, Boston Legal, Ally McBeal, Boston Public, Big Little Lies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Huge, like massive television producer. He's been around for ages. And they've been married for years. So I'm not too surprised that she kind of popped up in this as well. Nick Offerman stars as Jinx Millett, or technically James Millett. He is Margot's dad and a former pro wrestler. Probably one of the best cast people in this show, by the way. I love him.
I love him.
And
I
he's
have a
so
whole tangent about it. Yeah.
I'm excited to talk about that in more detail. Greg Kinnear plays Kenny, who is Cheyenne's boyfriend.
Yes.
Who is a religious youth minister.
So funny. So funny.
Yeah. I'm so interested to like talk about these characters a bit more in depth too, because there's good differences, I think, between like the show and the book in different ways and kind of what you're getting. Yeah. Also, Thaddea Graham, who plays Susie, who's Margot's roommate, who's like a cosplayer.
She was in one of the Star Wars movies, wasn't she? Or am I getting her confused with somebody else?
I think you might be getting her confused with someone else. She's an Irish actress, actually. She was in, I had seen her in Bad Sisters, and she was also in Sex Education, and I think the last season of the show. She was one of the students at the school that they like switched over to. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, she's great. She's really fun. Michael Angarano plays Mark, who is, I will just say for now, the guy who gets Margo pregnant, because there's more detail about that kind of comes out about it later. And then in terms of like guest star stuff, as of the 4th episode, we've seen Nicole Kidman. She was in the trailer, so I'm not giving anything away with that.
It was Nicole Kidman.
It is Nicole Kidman.
Wasn't it? Okay, my husband and I were watching it. We're like, is that Nicole Kidman? We're like, nah.
Her face looks a little bit funny. Anyway, it does a little bit weird. Anyway, yes, who plays Lace, who's also a retired female wrestler. This is not a character from the book, by the way. I think they just wanted Nicole Kidman to be in the show.
That's hilarious.
And that's it. There are a few other people here and there who play like a couple of different characters, but we'll kind of get into that as we go. Basically. Okay. So let's kick off some things we can do, kind of like overall basic premise, but mostly without getting too like crazy into the actual like every single plot detail, because we don't have time. Nope. We can do broad strokes, but then also talk through like feelings about stuff, whatever, like, you know, sort of like whatever we think like strengths and weaknesses are so far, and some of the differences. I can at least chat some of the differences without giving too much away for you, so that it doesn't spoil too much for later in the show.
I hate a spoiler.
Let's do it. Okay, spoilers, everyone. Spoilers. So that's it. Getting a little bit more into the more detailed premise of the show, Margo is attending a community college and studying English Lit, and she winds up having an affair with Mark, her professor. She gets pregnant. And Mark, of course, is married with children, because obviously he is, and wants absolutely nothing to do with her or with the child after she chooses to have the baby and not give him up for adoption or terminate the pregnancy, more terminate the pregnancy.
Was more what he was suggesting.
Yeah, that was more what he was aiming for, was for her to get an abortion. She chooses not to do so because Margo's the kind of character who kind of, she's a little bit like, she floats around because she's really unsure of what she wants to do with herself and with her life. She wants to be a writer, but like can't quite figure out sort of what place she fits into with that and what she should do to kind of achieve that. If anything, I do find actually in the show, the character has a little bit more direction. She's definitely, I would say, more confused in the novel a little bit about kind of what to do with any of the ideas that she has about anything. And she has like a little bit more of a struggle with that. So all of this happens. She becomes pregnant. She decides to keep the baby. She's also the daughter of essentially a single mother. She was also the product of a one-night stand back
Mm.
when her dad, Jinx, was still a professional wrestler. He met Cheyenne when she was working at a Hooters and they hooked up and she wound up getting pregnant. In the novel, there's a lot to indicate, and you do get a bit of it in the show so far, that he was like the love of Cheyenne's life. Like if he
Yeah.
had ever, he was also married at the time and did have children, Jinx. And if he had, I think, in the short term of them, of her getting pregnant and then also of Margo being a kid, when he did spend some time with them, if he had ever said that he was leaving his wife, and Cheyenne would have dropped everything and she immediately would have been with him. Like it's very clear he is the person, he's the person that she wanted to be with. But obviously nothing's worked out that way, unfortunately. And so now she's become, you know, obviously more sort of angry about that a little bit as time's gone on. And she's sort of like shoved that idea aside and decided I need to go for the exact opposite of that, which is where Kenny comes into the picture, of course, because he's like a squeaky clean youth pastor type.
The boring to her beautiful.
Very much, very much. And it's so interesting to see Greg Kinnear doing this because I find like he's quite endearing as an actor overall. And Kenny in the book is like, I'm like, ugh.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was just like, oh God, he's boring and he's kind of closed-minded and stuff. And you're like, yeah. So I feel like it shows more in the show. I feel like I'm like, I can kind of see why she likes him a little bit. He's a bit goofy, he's kind of funny, and he's not bad looking. So you're like, no, I get it. Like that makes more sense because like, you know, Michelle Pfeiffer is stunning. So it's just, you're kind of like, what the fuck? But she's also, again, like a deeply flawed character. I do find again that in the show they've kind of done a good job of
gloss over some of that.
They've toned her down a little bit to make her.
I want to come back to it in the late because I thought that as well. Like I haven't read the book, I haven't listened to the audiobook, none of the context, but I was like, they're giving us snippets of like how not great she probably was as a mom. And I don't know if it's because she's like, you know, kind of self-proclaiming it. She's mentioning it. She and Margo have a relationship, but I feel like it should probably be more strained than it is. Like, given the way that like after Margo has the baby, she just drops her off at home and is like, good luck kind of thing. It's like, what?
I was so curious to hear your opinions about this because there is a lot.
So many opinions about so many things in this show.
There's a lot in the book that, exactly to your point, I think you sussed it out pretty quickly. That is indicative of the fact that the reason that they still are close and that I guess they have more of a relationship is that Margo chooses to ignore her mother's faults in a lot of cases and chooses to still be close to her when from an outsider's perspective, like a reader's perspective, in my case, a listener's perspective, but same thing. I'm like, oh my fucking God, I'd never speak to this woman again. Like she's kind of terrible in the book. She is.
There were like many moments in the show that I thought to myself, if this cast weren't so stacked with such strong actors, I wouldn't have caught on to the nuances of what's going on in the background here. Because I can't hear the monologues or, you know, the additional context that a book would give me. But because they are all so good at what they do, I'm still getting the full context of the book just through, like, there's one moment when Margo says to her mom, I don't know why, but I've never wanted anything as much as I want this baby in this moment. And her mom just kind of looks off into the distance and like you can see what's going on her face, which is like, yeah, you feel that way now.
Until you have
I felt it too. When I had that one night stand with the love of my life. It's probably because you're in love with your professor and you're probably lying to yourself. And there's nothing I can say that's going to change your mind, kid. But good God, you are going to regret saying that. Kind of like it's all on her face because she's like, I can't tell you not to do it. And I can't tell you that you're, you know, because I know that you want the baby, but shit, this is not going to be good. You know,
100%. That's exactly that. You can see it. And it's because Michelle Pfeiffer is such a great actress that she just like manages to convey that without actually speaking
Yeah.
or really saying very much at all. You know,
Yeah.
it's really impressive. And it's interesting too, because that's it. It's just Cheyenne's a very selfish character. She's a very
Mhm.
selfish person. And
Yeah.
that regardless book or the TV show, it's clear.
Mhm.
And through that, you're able to discern that she's always thinking of things from her own perspective. And so
Yeah.
with this in mind, that's exactly what she's thinking is, oh, it's because you think you're in love with him and blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
None of that's true. And it's very
No.
clear in both cases, she was never in love with Mark.
No,
This was
never.
all
Mm.
just, this was getting attention from someone. And to a degree, especially in the book, man, it's because she's bored. She wants
Oh, is
something to
it?
do. Oh, 100%. It's because she's bored and she just appreciates the attention because
Wants to
she's
feel
lacked it
special
so
for
much.
once in her life.
Well,
Yeah.
daddy issues and stuff, and she's missed it so much in her life because
Mhm.
Jinx was so in and out of her life when she was a
Yeah.
child, that she's now, she's getting to experience that with a man who's older than her and acting like he's basically obsessed with her because that's it. She's about 19 in the book and Mark is 36, 37.
She's a freshman in college.
She
Yeah.
is. Yeah, exactly. So she's quite young. So anyway, she goes ahead. She has the baby. She names him Bodhi. He's a cutie patootie. And that from the beginning, regardless, is where you can tell that there's a differentiation to a degree between herself and Cheyenne.
Yeah.
She struggles a lot, but she loves
Oh,
that
yeah.
kid.
She
Adores that child.
Yeah.
And it is extremely clear. Again, same thing, book or show, at 100%.
Mhm.
There is no question. The problem, of course, becomes that Margo needs to make money in some capacity, and she's currently just working part-time as a server. That's what she was doing when she was going to school. She was working evenings. And there's a great passage in the book in which she speaks about the fact that it's unfair that she has to suffer because she works as a server and in the evenings and daycares aren't open at night and in the evenings. And why do people who choose to be servers, which is a service that's required, have to suffer with lack of childcare versus people who work during the day, like a 9 to 5. And it was just such an interesting little passage in the book, but I remember it sticking with me when I was listening to the audiobook that I was like, that's very true. All of that is bullshit.
It is because think about it. Think about people who single moms who need multiple jobs. And that's not uncommon, right?
And it's crazy because they lack money to pay for childcare, but they're having to work multiple jobs just to pay for that childcare. It's insane.
It's insane.
The cycle is absolutely batshit crazy. It's nuts.
It's nuts. And we haven't, I feel like in the show they haven't had as much of an exploration of that topic through the dialogue. It's been more just kind of through the visuals of what's going on.
This is what's happening.
Yeah. But she says oh, well, there's a 6-month wait list for the daycare. So she makes it sound like she could send him to daycare when there's a spot available. But what I keep thinking is but girl, how are you gonna have the money? Your rent itself is huge, because her roommates move out and because everybody's a jerk to her and nobody really wants to help her.
Well, I think what I really enjoy about this story overall is how nuanced it is, because there's, again, the immediate reaction is with her two roommates who you don't get to spend very much time with them in the show, which is understandable. There wouldn't be much point. In the book, their names are both Cat.
That's hilarious.
One of them is Cat the Large and the other one she calls Cat the Small. It's
That's
very
hilarious.
funny. But of course,
not because we like laughing at large people.
It's because one of them is literally taller and slightly bigger than the other one. That's literally the only difference. That's what it is. The thing in the book as well, that's sort of the same thing. And again, you want to tell these people that they're being assholes, which to a degree they are, but they're also college students who didn't sign up to have a roommate with a screaming baby at 3 o'clock in the morning. They're not asking for this.
When I was watching this show, I'm oh, when my daughter's up screaming, if I was a college student, I'd be like, get the fuck out of here.
Literally, that's it. You'd be doing kind of what they would be doing, which would be hey, I have a final in the morning. Can you kindly fuck off with the child that won't stop yelling?
That I did not ask for.
This kid is not my
when I moved in.
This isn't my kid, and it's not my problem. It's understandable. And unfortunately, also her roommates have been privy to the fact that she was having an affair with her professor, and they're well, you fucking did this to yourself. What do you want from me?
You made your choices, you made your bed, now lie in it. It's not my fault,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So through all of this, she obviously is struggling greatly within this space and this time period. Her dad, Jinx, or James, but Jinx is what everybody calls him, shows up fresh out of rehab because unfortunately, again, his storyline is quite realistic. A lot of professional wrestlers and things like that who do sustain injuries and things have a tendency to develop, dependency on painkillers in a lot of cases. Yeah. And that can sometimes devolve into other things. Unfortunately for Jinx, that devolves into like heroin use. Like that was his issue that he was having. So he gets out of rehab and of course is struggling. He is getting a divorce and his wife has kicked him out, obviously. So he goes to see Margo, partially because he kind of has nowhere else to go, and that is part of it. But the other part of it is also for the purpose of like reconnection and things like that. And it's something that happens in the book as well as in the show. It's so funny because it's not what she's expecting because she did not spend very much time with Jinx as a child. So she doesn't really know what he's like in a lot of cases, but he immediately is so good with Bodhi. Right off the bat, he can take care of it. And he does say in the book, he's like, because I think he has 2 kids from his other marriage. She's his third. So he's like, I've done this a few times before. Like, I know how to handle a baby. Like, this is not a big deal for me. And he's happy to be a grandfather. Like, he's not like Cheyenne. Cheyenne's just like, ew, gross. Don't give me that screaming.
Pretty much. She's like, ew, why
thing.
is it screaming so much? And she's like, you were literally my mom. And she's like, yeah, but I wasn't very good at it.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So he winds up moving in with her and with Susie as well, who's her only roommate who sticks around, who I love Thaddea Graham. I think she's great. And I love the relationship in the show. I think it's not bad in the book. They have like a nice friendship, but I find the way that they've developed it like really sweetly in the show. I really, really like it. And I really like the chemistry and the connection that the 2 characters have with each other. Cause I find it's actually quite a bit stronger than it is in the book. And Susie's like a little bit less awkward and she's more like willing to help with things. I think she's really sweet. And I really like that like friendship and relationship. They've added the element of her being like obsessed with pro wrestling in this. So she knows who Jinx is when he shows up and stuff, which is like a cute element. She doesn't in the book. She has no idea who he is. But it's this cute little like addition that they have. So the 3 of them become this funny little trio along with Bodhi, where it's basically like it takes a village, right? They're raising this kid together. All 3 of them are kind of doing all of these different things to help out. And it's really nice.
It's very cute. And I have to say, like, Nick Offerman, his character, so a couple of things. First of all, like, wow, how did we collectively have to come so full circle around, not full circle, that's not the right terminology, but we've come to a point where Michelle Pfeiffer and Nick Offerman are in a show as love interests. Like, it's just funny to see on the screen because of like where they both started in their like acting careers. And, how like, Hollywood movies and streaming services and like everything have like kind of come together and like this is what we have now.
Yep.
Very unlikely duo, but I do see it weirdly.
Oh, yeah.
They do have chemistry in their like quirky way. The other thing is I feel like he is giving the performance of his career in this show.
I love him.
He is doing such a fantastic job of showing like in front of his daughter how he's trying to be so strong and he's trying to do all the things, but also be honest and vulnerable about what he's going through. But then when they show him in scenes behind closed doors, how much he is struggling.
Yeah.
How much he is struggling, this poor man. And like, they're just doing such a bang up job on this show of like kind of illustrating all the social nuances that exist within different classes, within different educational backgrounds, different like, people and what they struggle with and all the things that our society has put together to be like, and here you go, here's like the big shit package that you all have to deal with. But here, raise a baby.
Yes. Have fun with that. And you're supposed to, because that's something that's good for you to do.
Oh yeah.
But we're going to do nothing to support you as a society whatsoever.
Nothing.
Oh,
like, a lot of this like isn't quite as extreme in like countries like Canada where we do have certain things that are a little easier. But at the same time, we have all really hard.
On the side of parental leave, we are afforded a rule, I should say, not in every case, but as a rule, we are afforded a fair bit more support from the government in that capacity. So that does kind of help us out a little bit, which is nice.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you were 19 and you were working part-time, like I don't think you'd be getting quite a big fat check from the government. And them diapers and them baby things are bloody expensive.
Which we
I can
see
tell you
multiple
that.
times in those first few episodes, especially, which is great. So it really just, it solidifies kind of like the desperation that one would feel in a situation like this. And ironically, it's Jinx who is the one who brings up the OnlyFans of it all in the first place, just because he's talking about a wrestler who wound up doing that as like a side gig. And that's actually what sparks the idea for Margo, because that's the thing, right? It's in the sex workspace, sure, but it's not doing like porn with other people around. You are safe in the confines of your own home in many cases, and she's able to just create content and control the narrative of that content as well, put that out, and then hopefully from there generate revenue essentially, and at the same time be afforded the opportunity to stay at home with her child so that she's not having to take that money that she's making and scraping it together and pay for childcare outside of that either. So it's like a win-win. Really.
It is. But what's interesting is, when she starts her account and she does start getting some money, like this is like in the early days, Susie says, "Oh, I gotta go to work. Like this sucks." And Margo's like, "I'm so jealous of you." And you just know that even though she's probably gonna start making bank off this OnlyFans account, like she would still just love to be able to just go to work like a normal person.
Like, have something a little bit normal. There's like a big part of her. There's a lot of back and forth that happens in the book, and we'll kind of get into it, I think, when we do like our wrap up of everything at the end in our second part, because there is I really enjoyed in the story how much of like a back and forth there is about this, in terms of like, at what point do you feel shame for doing this type of work? And is that really necessary? Or is it, better to just truck along with this and see how it goes? Or is it better to like quit while you're ahead? There's like a lot to it in that capacity, but that's great. But I think what's been really good about these first 4 episodes has been the opportunity to see the relationships between the characters and the struggles that each individual character is dealing with. Primarily, obviously, Margo, but Jinx is also, I would say, quite up there. And even Cheyenne as well. We're getting like levels of, that's it, like nuance of what people are experiencing. And I think exactly to your point, it's really just because there are such strong performers in the show as well. But I love that because in the novel, obviously, everything's narrated from Margo's perspective.
Right.
We're not afforded the opportunity to necessarily, outside of conversations that are happening, to spend time with Jinx in the same way. But I love that with the show, we get to do that. And then having somebody as great as Nick Offerman is playing this character really allows us to be able to explore the sides of the addiction that he's dealing with and struggling with overcoming, and the pain that he deals with from injuries on a regular basis that have led to this whole problem in the first place. And knowing, well, if I just took something, it would help it go away. There's so much to it, and he barely has to say anything for you to see exactly what he's dealing with and what he's struggling with. And it's fascinating to watch. I don't know what's gone on in like I don't know, in like more recent years, but between this and that one episode of The Last of Us,
oh my god,
because it's gonna make me cry. He's so incredible.
He's such a good actor, man. Like he needs to be on more stuff. Like not everything. We don't need him on everything.
We know.
But like he should be in more stuff because he is a very strong actor. And like I love watching him on screen, especially in this show. Like every time there's a scene with him, I'm like, oh yay, okay, like grandpa's here, like
fantastic.
It's just really sweet.
Yeah. So I think it's been really cool anyway to kind of like see these first few episodes play out, because basically the point that we get to by the 4th episode is that Margo has kicked off her OF account, and she's trying to get everything up and running. But at the same time, obviously, she's still navigating kind of how this works. And she's realizing that it's so difficult to grow an audience on OnlyFans unless you have some other way of cross promoting or of making that work. So she in turn obviously is looking for opportunities to do that. And so she's reaching out to other creators to try and get that ball rolling, which is how she meets two of the other characters, Casey and Rose.
Yeah.
Who are, that's it. They both have their own separate accounts and their own things that they create, but they do a lot of collaborations with each other, and they have like a podcast that they do together and all kinds of things. But this is like, again, this is their full-time job. They both have like a hefty number of followers and things like that as well. So she's trying to, that's it, find people to mentor her to a degree. Like she's very intelligent, Margo.
Yeah.
She goes about all these things in, I think, the best way that she possibly can. She's interesting because she has like a certain level of naivete that she still exists with because she's very young.
She's very young. Yeah.
But also at the same time has a strength of character and a lot of intelligence that I think allows her to kind of make something like this work in a space like this and navigate it as intelligently as she possibly can.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating to see. And to still explore the nuance of being someone who is so young, who is still very open to exploring like sexual freedom and
True.
doing this type of work and things like that, while also existing in the same space as a mother, because two things can be true at the same time. And there doesn't necessarily need to be a level of shame attached to a mother, you know, doing sex work or exposing like her sexuality in some capacity or utilizing that sexuality in some way. But society does like to shame that quite frequently. It's like when you become a mom, you're put into a box of just like, here is where you live now. You no longer have anything else that's outside of that. This is how you exist, and there's nothing else to you. Yeah.
Even if you're trying to do something not of the sexual nature.
No, not at all.
It's just women, unfortunately, the minute that you have a baby, you get put in the mom box, and you should not be working. You should not be doing anything that takes you away from your baby or your child, because then you're neglectful and you should feel heaps and heaps of guilt, you know, in addition to the guilt that you feel constantly nonstop just for existing as a mother.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because they do kind of call upon that at one point in the show where Margo's talking to her. She's just had like a shitty moment with her mom, you know, where they go dress shopping there.
Yeah.
And they have a big blowout, and then she goes home and her friend calls her, and she's super excited to talk to her friend because it goes back to what you just said, her naivete and like her youth, you know. She's 19, she's happy to talk to her friend, like she's like, yay, okay, my best friend's calling me. And her best friend tells her like, well, why don't you just like kind of dump him off in foster care for like a few years until you finish your degree, get your life in order, and then like go back and get him.
That was a
like,
that's bananas thing to say. I was like, she does not say that in the book, but we don't. Becca's a little bit bigger of a character in the show. And don't get me wrong, there's some interesting things that happen with Becca later in the book. I'm not sure if they're going to do it on the show or not. We'll have to see how it goes. But no, she doesn't say anything like that that I remember anyway. She doesn't say anything like that in the book, because I was watching the episode that had dropped where she was having that conversation. I was like, Jesus Christ. Like,
whoa. Said that, and Margo was like, what the fuck? I was like, yeah, what the fuck? Like, you never ever tell your like a mother to give up their child, no matter how hard the situation is that they're
like
in.
A really crazy thing to say. I was like, my God, and you were so like casual about that as well. Yeesh.
Yeah, like it's not daycare for 4 years. Like it's not summer camp.
No, that's it. And also you can't just casually do that and then pick him up when you feel like it. Guess what? The foster system's going to be like, that's funny that you think that you can just do that.
Not just that, your kid's going to be like, Mom, who you left me, you can fuck right off. Even though like my life sucks right now. Like I'd rather be here than be with you, you know?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So that's really interesting, but I'm really curious to see, that's it, like how like the nuance continues to develop. Obviously, we also see in the latest episode as well that Jinx finds out that Margo is doing OnlyFans, like that she has an account and things like that, because he stumbles onto a photo shoot and has the funniest reaction possible. I loved it. Because it was just very realistic, like a dad seeing that and being like, bah. And again, does a really great job. They have a really great conversation. He does a really great job of doing exactly what a father would do, which you know, at first when he's saying he's very like liberal and open to these things, but when it's your daughter, it's not something
very
you're that
different.
comfortable with anymore and stuff like that. So there's a really good level of nuance there, because that read extremely realistically to me. I was like, yeah, that seems about right. That seems like what most fathers would feel like in these cases, as accepting as any of them, I think that they are. Yeah, you are, until it comes to your own kid, and then
100%. It's always the same, isn't it?
exactly. So that's good. But there's a lot of really cool stuff to come, just in terms of Margo oddly finding her own voice with her account, and what she really wants to do to grow her audience and the different types of things. It allows her to exercise, I think, creative muscles that she didn't really feel too sure about earlier on in the story, which is really fun. And there's a lot more to the different things that happen. There's a couple of like really crazy things that happen later in the book. But there's like, you know, different things that happen too within especially the interpersonal relationships. I think I love that in this story, there's such heavy commentary about the societal implications of getting pregnant and being a single parent, getting pregnant very young, all of the aspects of childcare that come along with it, the total lack of support that society seems to just provide to mothers in general, and exactly what we were just talking about, putting them into a box once they do become mothers. I love that, but I also loved how much the story deals with familial relations and how different people's families look different ways and function in different ways, and strangely what may seem non-typical to you and like it should be dysfunctional actually works very well for some people. And then on the flip side, something that looks like it should be great and very well functioning could be a total disaster on the inside of it when you take a look at it. And I loved when I was listening to the audiobook, like when I was sort of like reading the story, how much I got of that. And I love that we're getting a lot of it as well in the show. And I'm really, really curious to see the back half of the series and kind of see like how that sort of winds up developing to an extent.
Yeah, I agree. When we were watching it, my husband was like, "Oh, this reminds me of the show Made," you know, based on that one was based on a book as well.
Yeah.
That one I could not watch. It was too hard. This one, they've gone about it in a
It has a
different way.
bit more of a comedic tone to
Yeah, there's
it.
like a little bit more of a comedic tone, but like not much. Like I was like
No,
expecting more comedy, but there's not that much.
I guess there's just something about
But they're
the
doing a good job.
yeah, I think there's something about this one where the writing is a little bit more lighthearted, which I think lends itself well to this kind of subject matter, just because obviously it makes it so that people aren't just sitting there like, oh my God, I'm so depressed while I'm watching this the whole time, and makes you, you know, want to, I think, root for the characters and things like that quite a bit, which is great. But at the same time, yeah, like it's still dealing with probably like very similar sort of circumstances and like very similar subject matter and how heavy it is. But there is just something about the writing that's made it, I think, a lot more approachable for a large audience and a lot more lighthearted that way as well. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I've really been enjoying it so far. I did really enjoy the book. So, and I'm curious to see, I guess, what other kinds of differences we're going to come across a little bit. And then once we kind of like wrap it up, I'll be able to give you kind of a clearer picture too of sort of how things are different. There are a couple of, that's it, major plot points in the latter half of the story that I'm very curious to see if they stick to it, if they change it, how they might adjust it to a degree and kind of go from there. Because I find that as a rule, in when you're adapting something for screen, and I can totally understand, we keep seeing this over and over again, like we talked about it when we covered Project Hail Mary and everything like that. A lot of the time authors are able to explore the nuance and the gray areas of things not being super wrapped up at the end of a story, or maybe not like being as cleanly sort of closed as you're expecting them to be. It's more difficult to do that in film and television. I think, you know, largely audiences are expecting something to be like, here's a beginning, a middle, and an end. And here you go. Now it's done. But in literature, that's not always the case, and it plays a little bit better. So I'm curious to kind of see like where some of the plot points sort of go and kind of what the ending of all of this looks like as well, because I get the feeling it's going to be a bit different.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was wondering that as well, because I was kind of like on this one thought of what this show was, and then now it's getting more into like the OnlyFans and then like the other creators and stuff, and I'm like, oh, Okay, right. Okay, so there's a whole other
Oh, definitely.
elaborate side of this story that we're about to delve into
Yep.
here. Okay, interesting. So I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to it. I'm enjoying it and I'm looking forward to it.
No, me too. I'm really, I think I think it's got really clever writing and it's got a really talented cast. Like this
Very
is going to
good.
be something I think that carries itself very well because of the people and all of the characters, whether I like them or not.
Yeah.
For different reasons, I find everybody's great. Like Mark, like all of the people who I'm like, yeah, fuck that character.
Yeah, but they do such a good
such a good
job.
job of it. They do a great job of it. So you're just kind of like, like, okay, no, I'm here. I feel like I'm along for the ride here, and I'm not like being taken out of it. So anyway, hopefully, you guys are, if you're watching it as well, I hope you're kind of watching it as well. If you're sort of listening to this recap, but you're watching it as well. Hopefully you liked it. If you've read the book, I would be really curious also to know kind of what your thoughts are about that, about maybe some of the changes that have been made so far. Like I said, they've softened some of the characters and things to a degree, and there are some minor plot changes and stuff. So I'd be curious to see what everybody's thoughts are about that too. You can check out everything all about that and all of our coverage and stuff over on our socials at fullybookedca. And you can always check out our website at fullybooked.ca, where we've got regular podcast episodes dropping there, of course, as well, but also all of the coverage of any upcoming reviews that we have for new releases, recommendations, anything that we just have floating around in our noggins that we feel like writing about and covering about books of all different genres. You can check out over there. So until next week, guys, keep on reading.
Thanks, everyone.
Brought to you by the Capital One Savor Card. With Savor, you earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining, entertainment, and at grocery stores. That's unlimited cash back on ordering takeout from home, or unlimited cash back on tickets to concerts and games. So grab a bite, grab a seat, and earn unlimited 3% cash back with the Savor Card. Capital One. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.